Hi everyone! 2022 is over, and so is the DKMB Timeline Park Contest Season 2. If you're unfamiliar, this was a contest that took place ongoing throughout the entire year. Participants started at the beginning with a very small park with just a few rides, and over the course of the year, every month added a few new things based on certain prompts, and added a little bit of story to go with it to explain what was going on in the park as time went on. I participated in Season 1 of this contest in 2021, and I had a great time using that contest to hone my OpenRCT2 skills. I participated in the second season of the contest again for much the same reason. So in this video I want to go over the park I built, show some of the individual stages, and talk about some of the creative decisions that I made when building it. Alright, here we are in stage 1 of the park. As you can see, it doesn't look a whole lot like a theme park. And if you didn't notice in the clips at the beginning of the video, or if you haven't seen the park yet, this year I decided to try something totally different than last year where I built a very standard, normal looking theme park. And I want to try something pretty out there and build a more story focused park with a bit of a sci-fi theme to it. I was hoping that it would be a way to kind of flex my creative muscles a bit. Work on building some sculptures, something I haven't really done a whole lot of yet and I'm not very good at. Play around with some different scenery, palette, and color options, and just kind of let myself go crazy with some different ideas. So the story here is that we have a cargo ship that has crash landed on an alien planet. And the crew of the cargo ship has to try to see if they can get rescued by sending out some distress signals, and at the same time trying to survive on a hostile world. So I wasn't really sure where the story was going to go when I started, but I figured this would be kind of a cool setting. Lots of opportunities for some interesting creative buildings, and maybe some different little gizmos we can build that will add some extra movement to the park. I had quite a lot of ideas for some different set pieces that I was thinking about building throughout the year, not all of which came to fruition. But I did quite enjoy the spaceship sculpture that I made here. As I said, trying to get my sculpture game up a little bit. I didn't make too many more sculptures past this one, but I feel like it set the stage pretty nicely for the vibe that I was trying to set and the atmosphere, and I thought it was a good portent of things to come. So here we have stage 2 of the park, and as you can see, things have been developing quite a bit already. The crew of the spaceship have managed to put together a little monorail system here to shuttle goods back and forth between the crash site and a water treatment facility. So during their exploration of the map, they've discovered a source of drinkable water and have managed to scrounge together the materials to build a little pump room over here. I'm not really sure what it's supposed to technically do, but I thought it looked cool. And that's going to be a theme throughout most of the things that I build here. All the buildings in the park will eventually have a purpose as the year goes on, but a lot of it was just built because I thought it looked neat and not necessarily because it was in any way quote-unquote realistic for what a space colony might actually need. But that's fine because it's a space colony. Who knows what we're really going to need? I don't know. Here in stage 3, things have only progressed a little bit, but we're starting to see some of the biodome structures here that will become a major theme for the remainder of the park. As the crew of the spaceship want to create livable habitats on this planet, they need to create some big biodomes that will create breathable air and livable spaces for the future colonists to live in. You'll notice that we actually do finally have a couple peeps in the park. Now that the biodomes are starting to be constructed, they have some space that they can wander around outside the ship, but it is going to be pretty limited to just inside those biodomes since they can't survive in the cold blackness of the exterior of the planet. This design decision actually made it really challenging for later stages of the park when it got more crowded and there were more peeps around, more things for them to do, as I had to build more and more biodomes over the map to make it practical for them to walk around. It was kind of annoying that I couldn't just let them walk around wherever they wanted for story reasons, so we'll see later on as to whether or not that was actually a good decision. Alright, here we are in stage 4. You can see quite a lot going on for this stage. The biodomes that we constructed last month are getting bigger, and we have a couple new ones added as well, some more facilities cropping up here and there, a few more peeps walking around, and I added this big moving sidewalk in between the two main areas of the park that we have so far. Like I mentioned earlier, it was annoying that they couldn't just walk around outside, so it had to be entirely enclosed, which was a little bit of a hassle, but I think it looks pretty cool, so not a huge deal. A couple other interesting set pieces we have going on here. You can see there is a little UFO up here at the top. This represented some other humans that had coincidentally lived on the planet one further out in this particular star system. We didn't know that's what was going on here yet, but they were here to help sort of rescue the people who had crash landed here, just kind of help them out. Also, what we have over here on this corner, some alien stuff going on. This was hinted at earlier with the little cave below the water pump station that had these eggs in it. I was definitely going for a bit of a vibe that was influenced by the film Alien, one of my favorite movies. And then we have these big tentacly guys over here popping out and breaking up our monorail shuttle thing. It's very rude. So not very nice of them to crop up and ruin all of our stuff. Whatever will our colonists do? Alright, here in stage 5 you can see just what happened. With the help of the other humans, they have created a little force field kind of thing to kind of seal the aliens away. It isn't really ever explained what kind of technology is being used to do this. I'm using a lot of these bright green pieces in various places throughout the map, and generally that kind of represents some sort of like alien magic thing. I kept all my explanations of this pretty vague because I wasn't really sure myself of what exactly was going on, but if it's mysterious, that makes for intriguing storytelling, so I figured it was good enough. Our shuttle that was broken has been refurbished, and I've turned it into our first major ride that our park has. We actually added quite a few rides in this iteration of the map, whereas previous stages didn't have any peepable rides at all. So now this is just a little launch coaster here, not very exciting, but I felt like it made sense for the old shuttle to get turned into something like this. But we do have a couple more rides in here, as I mentioned. The observatory here in the middle is a 3D theater, but you put a little dinghy slide on it and it turns into a telescope, which I thought was pretty cute. And over here in the corner, we've got some archaeological excavations going on. We've uncovered another UFO, which I have built here to be identical to the one that has been floating above the map for a while. And more of these mysterious crystal-y things. Alright, here for stage 6, you can see we focused a little bit on adding some more buildings. As the park has been growing, we've been adding more peeps, and I figured it made sense to have some housing for them. So we have what is, I guess, kind of some sort of living quarters, dormitory kind of thing over here. Thought it would be neat just to add a different style of building in here. One of the big challenges of this park was making buildings that were distinct from each other, but still having the same sort of cohesive style, which is very difficult to do. I mostly accomplished this by giving everything a very similar color scheme. You've probably noticed everything is kind of red and white, which matched the color scheme of the original spaceship. No particular reason for that color scheme, except it kind of reminded me of NASA a little bit, I guess. It made it feel kind of spacey in my mind. But it does leave the color palette a little bit monotonous throughout the park, at least for now. The other building that we have here in this stage is a training facility with 2 gravity-focused rides, very similar to what you might find at a real astronaut training facility. We've got a thing that spins around a whole lot for some G-force training. And we also have a little pool down here for zero-G training, which is just a little boat ride that goes underwater. But I felt like they were both pretty thematic rides to have together in the same building. Here for stage 7, kind of more of the same. We've added another gravity training facility over here with a launch tower in it. As you can see, this corner of the park is starting to get a little bit different in terms of the color palette I was using to try to make different biomes, sort of. Keep the different areas of the park looking a little bit more visually interesting. We've added some more mysterious rocks over here as well, kind of hinting at in the story that there's a presence of some other native species that we aren't really sure what's going on that might have something to do with these power crystals we've been seeing. But we're just leaving more little hints here and there. And we have some more biodomes being constructed as well with some nice big communications towers. Just trying to add some more things that look vaguely spacey, vaguely science fiction-y. Kind of flesh out the park, make it a little bit more lived in. The red shuttle launch coaster has been expanded a little bit into something a bit more roller coaster looking. I didn't focus a whole lot on this ride, so it's not a particularly great layout or a particularly realistic one. Just mainly here to fill up space and look neat, which I think it accomplishes well enough. But I think in retrospect, I should have spent a little bit more time on this. After all, it is Roller Coaster Tycoon, and a lot of people were very focused on the roller coasters, and I did hear some feedback from people that they were a little bit disappointed that we didn't have as many real amusement park rides. Even though that's not really what I was going for here, it would have made sense to add one or two more in here, or at least make them look a little bit more theme park ride looking. Finally, in terms of our story, we have some developments going on with the aliens over here that have been trapped in this little force field. We have a wormhole that's opened up mysteriously, made out of these Heartline Twister cars. And they have come back to ransack more of our facilities and starting to destroy our water treatment plant, which is very rude. Here we have Stage 8, some more interesting developments going on here. Continuing with the story of the alien invasion, we have a little battle scene taking place here. Some little dogfighter spaceships and a tank, which is launching some dinghy slides at our aliens. That was a fun little set piece to build. It's unfortunate we couldn't really make any more movement over here, just with these static spaceship sculptures, but I did think they looked pretty cool. Also, I was talking about roller coasters last time. We did add a more real roller coaster-y looking roller coaster over here. There isn't really a whole lot of story justification for it, aside from just wanting to give the colonists on the planet something to do, aside from just gravity training. So here we have just a literal recreation of the Flight of Fear models that you find at King's Island and King's Dominion. Nothing too special about it, but I felt like since those coasters in real life are space themed, Outer Limits themed, it kind of made sense to have this ride in the park. And we also have a little bit more terrain development over here with some more mysterious rock work and crystals and sculptures going on over here. What could it mean? Who knows? Here in Stage 9, some plot resolutions are slowly happening. The aliens have been defeated over here. The wormhole still exists, but the battle scene has been resolved, and we can see the tank safely tucked away, and our dogfighters have been stored in this hangar. And we have set our eggs on fire to hopefully prevent them from coming back. We also have some communication towers built out here in preparation for next stage. Didn't do a whole lot of planning in advance, but I feel like this one paid off, as you'll see next stage. To make up for our broken down water treatment plant, we have a second one built over here with a second little body of water that has been discovered. And over here in the other corner, some more interesting stuff going on, more terrain being built out, and a mysterious sculpture over here in the corner with some very mysterious handymen walking around. I mentioned the movie Alien a bit ago. This sculpture over here is supposed to be kind of a recreation of the Navigator sculpture, at least as best as you could do with RCT. I try to get the vibe and general shape of it, just trying to add a little bit more to the alien mystery of this area. Here we have Stage 10, our second to last stage of the park. Our big addition, obviously we have this weird yellow coaster over here. This is actually based on a real-life coaster called Vertigo, which was a short-lived coaster at Wallaby, Belgium, called a mountain glider coaster, which really feels more like a zip line than a coaster. But I thought it looked pretty cool and would make a good fit for the kind of sci-fi theme that I was going with here. Felt like it fit the aesthetic of the park pretty well. After we leave the station here at the front, we have a couple underground hills, then into a vertical lift here, and then after a little helix into our zip line part, into some more helixes back in the station. A very non-traditional coaster, of course, very weird looking. Tried to do something that looked, weird and futuristic, but I feel like it does capture the spirit of Vertigo pretty well. Not much else going on with the stage, as the coaster took up most of my time that I had for building, aside from a new building over here with a flying saucer ride. I couldn't believe that I had waited this long to put a flying saucer ride into my space park. Seemed like a no-brainer, but I quite like the way it fit into this section over here. Which finally brings us to Stage 11 and the final version of the park. A couple of new major areas added here at the end, particularly this zone here in the corner. We have a couple large buildings over here which contain a few more gravity training themed rides and a rocket launch zone. We also have the first station of a monorail system that will take you from this corner of the park all the way to the middle here, which is now unrecognizable from Stage 1. But if you look closely, you'll see some scarring on the terrain left over from the crash, and the ship body itself has now been almost completely dismantled, except for some of it over here, which is turned into the other monorail station, which I thought was a nice little touch. Just made a couple other minor tweaks here and there, like making the station for the roller coaster over here a little bit bigger and more detailed. And we've added a farming facility over here near the living quarters, as of course you need somewhere to grow your food for your space colony. So that was the last thing that we really needed for everyone to live happily here on this planet. The story, by the way, ended with our colony being, pretty successful living here on its own. The mysterious stuff going over here on the corner pointed to another colony of humans that had lived here before the crash even happened at the beginning, who had been hiding from the native aliens that lived here, and were able to harness the power of the crystals to keep themselves alive. And that combined with the abilities of the crew that had crashed and the neighboring planet, they were able to thrive and build their society here. I hope you enjoyed my little tour of this park. I had a lot of fun making it. It's always sad to see an event like this come to a close, where I've spent almost a whole year building this map, but I am pretty proud of the end result. I'd like to shout out the DKMP Discord server where this all took place. There are 14 other parks which made it to completion, and there was some extremely strong competition for the voting results at the end of the year. My park wound up winning 4th place overall, and considering what it was up against, I'm very happy with the result. There is a link to the results video in this video's description if you'd like to see it for yourself. And you can find links to all those parks on the Discord's Timeline Park Contest Archive channel, and I put a link to that in the description below too. While there won't be another official Timeline Park Contest in 2023, I'm looking forward to what's next. I'm hoping to spend some time on some smaller scale contest parks, but no matter what I wind up doing, I plan to keep having fun with this great game. And I hope you enjoyed this video too. Thanks for watching.